All right. Thank you for the warm introduction. So excited to share out information about community colleges in the state of Washington. You know, as the session is titled, we are the local affordable college choice. And so I just want to talk a little bit about what those choices are. Quick background on myself. I am the director for student recruitment at Columbia Basin College. I'm able to put on and take off that hat because my passion is just making sure that you as students are able to research and find the schools that best fit what you're looking for. And I've got a pretty diverse background with a lot of financial aid experience, so I know that cost can be a factor. I've also worked at several institutions. So I've worked at a small liberal arts four-year institution. I've worked for a Research One four-year institution that did four-year and graduate degree programs. And currently I work at a community college, and it's really spoken to my heart being able to serve our direct community. And I think that that's one of the cool things about community colleges is that we exist to serve our communities. So as I jump in, I want to talk a little bit about talk about community colleges in the state of Washington. I think for some students, there can be a misconception about what community college is or isn't. So I wanted to take a quick second to just say, you know, what is community college? You've maybe heard it referred to as a junior college, a technical college, a comprehensive college. These are all different names for community colleges, depending on what they offer. Technical colleges typically have very hands-on technical programs. Junior college is another way of referencing a community college. It's more of a historical reference. Comprehensive college is one of the more recent names that we see for our community colleges across the state and across the country. They're considered comprehensive because they can offer both 2- and 4-year degrees. So they are no longer just limited to that 2-year degree offering. As I mentioned, they have found a place in my heart because community colleges have a mission to support the community in which they serve. So typically they're more regionally driven. So they are close to home. They're where you are. They're looking at the jobs and the employment demands in your direct area, as well as plugged into the resources in that area has to offer. With that being said, they offer a lot of career training, skills offerings that are relevant within your community. I know from west side to east side of the state, we have diverse communities. So we want to make sure that you're getting plugged into that local option for you. Now, what it isn't. Now, I hear a lot of stereotypes. I have students all the time that say, miss, I'm just going to go to the community college. Well, I think you're underselling yourself if you say that. We are so excited that you're looking at community college as your choice school because here are the things we're not. We're not easier than or less than a college or university. They're not just classes you're taking. This is an investment in your education. A lot of students may see their community college as just a commuter school. I don't know if you've heard that reference, but students only show up for their classes and then they leave. That's not always the case. Community colleges across the state have built out robust student opportunities for you to engage and spend your day in the classroom and with extracurricular, co-curricular activities with your peers to really feel engaged in your school. We're going to go ahead and explore the community colleges across the state of Washington. And this is available on our CTC website. SBCTC is State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. You'll see that there are 34 community colleges in the state of Washington. So if you are undecided about what you want to do for college education, I'd encourage you to start exploring these options. You're already here today, which tells me that you're considering this as an option. You'll see that there's kind of a dense concentration along that I-5 corridor. So you've got a lot of options right there. But we're going to break it down by region. So if you look in the north, King County, like I said, you have many, many options. Northwest, you have Bellingham Tech, Edmonds. This is where you'll see a little bit of that language about how they're named. So Bellingham Technical offers a lot of technical programs. Edmonds goes by Edmonds College, so they offer both 2- and 4-year degrees. Everett Community College, their emphasis is particularly on their 2-year degree programs. So if you don't see anything after the name, it means it's because it's a college, comprehensive college, and offers both 2- and 4-year degrees. As we go on around the state, Pierce County, Bates Technical College, Clover Park Technical College, Pierce College. You'll see Southwest Washington, so several options kind of on that Oregon-Washington border. And then us out here in Eastern Washington, I mentioned I'm at Columbia Basin College. We're one of our comprehensive colleges across the state. Currently, we offer 8 bachelor's degree programs. Our partners on this eastern side of the state are Big Bend up in Moses Lake, Spokane and Spokane Falls, Walla Walla Community College, Wenatchee, and Yakima Valley. So a lot of great options that you can explore by region. So let's talk about some of the benefits of a community college. I mentioned that we're regionally serving. So what that means, in your region, there is a college that is there to serve you and your community. They're where you are. Now, not to say you can't travel across the state and attend any community college, but when we talk about affordable options, looking in your own backyard can be the most affordable option. Access is always a very important thing to consider, not only access as far as whether you geographically have to change locations, but also access in the classroom once you become a student. A lot of students find that they come from smaller schools and they perform better in smaller classes where they have access to their instructors. I went to a very large university for my freshman year of college, and when I sat down in a lecture hall for my biology class of 250 students, and my instructor was the size of my thumbnail, I thought, gosh, I'm gonna have some problems in this class. I was a student that thrived on getting to know who my teacher was, not having a teaching assistant, but having my professor, my instructor available to me. So if you're looking for that connection, or if you're from a small school and you're used to a smaller class size, those can be very important for you in your college search process. Now, because our classes are smaller, our campuses, that does not mean that you go from your high school classroom into a college class with all of your same high school peers. Our campuses are very diverse. Campuses range in size and service of their community. They range in diversity, both in their students and in their faculty. Diversity looks and sounds like many different things. It can be thought processes and ideas. And so the diversity on campus is really something to embrace. Being in a classroom will not be the same as sitting in your classroom with your high school peers that you had the prior year in high school. So great benefit to college campus life. Also, there's typically at a community college a direct benefit, a link from the program you're taking to the community and the business partners that you serve. When we look at programs from a community college perspective, we have to be very nimble in who we're serving. We are serving our students in the community, trying to get them job ready, which means we like to incorporate a lot of internships so that the work experience is there, which then introduces you to employers and makes it so that you are readily available. They know your skills, they've helped to train you in your skills, and you can join the employment market. I gave a couple examples on the slide. So at Columbia Basin College, we have a cybersecurity program, and we work very closely with Pacific Northwest National Labs, which is what PNNL stands for. They are a local government contractor in our area that cybersecurity is of the utmost importance to them. So our students are able to do internships with them. If you think about the time it takes for information to get into a textbook, sometimes information, especially with technology, advances so quickly, it can be obsolete by the time it is written in a textbook. Where our students get these internship examples of work experience, they also have faculty that are coming from the employment sector that are able to provide a very timely connection of the skills taught in the classroom and the application in the work environment. So just some of the benefits of attending community college. So when we look at the cost of college, for most of us, the cost of college is a big driving factor in the choices we make, what programs we take, how long we want to spend in college, and where we choose to attend. But those costs can seem kind of daunting. So I want to break down what it is you are paying for when we talk about your costs of college. The term tuition and fees is thrown out there, and once we are in higher education, we understand exactly what that means. But as a high school student, you may not have been exposed to this concept yet of paying for the classes that you are sitting in the classroom to attend. In high school, you show up, there's an expectation that you sit in your class and take your coursework. In college, you get the choice to choose what classes you take, and there are credits associated with that course, and you pay for those credits to sit in the class and learn from the instructor. I kind of explain it to students sometimes. It's you're paying to keep the lights on. You're paying to keep the professional in front of you. You're paying for the educational material that is being transitioned to you. So that's what tuition and fees looks like. Books and supplies, this varies from class to class. Required textbooks that you need for reading, but it goes beyond that. Your books and supplies might be the notepads and pens that you need to take notes. It can also be additional materials needed for your class. If you're taking a ceramics class, there's a good chance that you will have some art supplies. If you're taking a lab class, you may have some lab fees that you have to pay. So those are some additional supplies that may relate to your courses. Also, these books, we've probably all heard students talk about the amount of money they can spend on their textbooks. And what I would say is, yes, I made a very amateur mistake my freshman year of college. I bought a textbook for my accounting class. And at the end of the quarter, I was so excited to sell it back and get some money back for it that I neglected to realize that I would need it for the next quarter, the next sequence of accounting. So some books can be expensive, but you can utilize them for multiple quarters, a class in sequence. I see that a lot with like biology classes or accounting classes where there are multiple classes in a sequence to complete the scope of information. Room and board. So this is could be potentially your biggest cost savings. If you're looking at a community college right in your neighborhood, in your backyard, typically our students we see are able to continue living at home. Now, full disclosure, if you're living at home, obviously there's probably rules and expectations there. This is if your parents aren't charging you rent. This is if it's a good living situation for you to continue in. We encourage students, if tenable, to continue living at home to save this expense to pay for rent or utilities or your expenses to get an independent living situation. Now I always throw in the caveat, I hope mom's a good cook. Maybe she's still helping with your laundry. It might make it worthwhile to continue living at home for a while and save that room and board expense. Other expenses that get calculated in are transportation and personal expenses. The way I like to explain this is your cost of college. We understand that at some point you have these additional expenses, whether it's taking an Uber to campus, taking a taxi home after a late night class, getting your car maintenance done if you have a vehicle, your personal expenses. You're a human being. You will have expenses related to your education, even the simple ones of shampoo, deodorant, and laundry detergent. You still have those expenses to be able to show up and able to participate in your coursework. So all of these combined create your cost of college. It's an estimated cost, right? Because we don't know how many credits you're planning to take. And we don't know if you ride the bus to school or you drive your own vehicle. So these are estimated expenses that make up the total cost. But when we look at average costs, I'm just looking at tuition and fees because that is what is billed by the school to you as a student, unless you're living on campus. So I did a general cost comparison for average tuition and fees. Public universities in the state of Washington come out to about $8,300 on average for just your tuition and fees. That's just your educational piece. Private colleges and universities can be anywhere, the average here shown is about $28,000, but they can be anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. And I want to reemphasize that this is per year. So multiply this by the number of years you anticipate spending in college working toward your education. Average community college for tuition fees is around $4,200 per year. So you can see why, if living at home, continuing to live with the folks, not pay rent, not accrue any additional expenses, can make it very, very affordable for you to pursue your education. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
There's a question on the board that says, do you guys have cosmetology?
So that is a great question. The school that I work at, Columbia Basin College, does not have a cosmetology program. However, the state board website will allow you as students to go in and search colleges of interest based on either programs that you're looking to study in. So you could search for a cosmetology program, or by geographic area. So there is a way for you to find all of the schools in the state of Washington that offer that cosmetology program.
Fantastic. One other quick question. Do you have to take the ACT or SAT to go to community college?
Great question. So short answer can be no, but I'm going to elaborate on that exact topic in a couple slides. So I'll go into more detail then. So hang tight with me and I'll get back to your question. Okay. So when we talk about paying for college, I wanted to just touch on financial aid. I mentioned my background's in financial aid. I'm one of those nerdy people that gets excited about getting students money. So I'm gonna get excited for a minute and share some information about types of financial aid. I'll have students all the time that'll say, "Oh, miss, I'm not going to qualify for financial aid." And I'll say, "No, unless you apply." So types of financial aid that you can apply for: scholarships. Typically, these are separate applications. So right now is a great time, especially if you are seniors, to be connecting with your college counselor, your guidance specialist, your career specialist, whoever you have at your disposal through your school. See what they know of for scholarship applications. It takes a little bit of work, but we encourage you to write a great personal statement about yourself, have people ready to be recommenders for you, or write a letter of recommendation on your behalf, so that you can fill out as many scholarship applications as possible. This is free money. People have money that they want to give you to go to school. So make sure you're applying. The next type of financial aid are grants. We call this gift aid because somebody is giving you this gift of money. Typically that somebody is your local, state, or federal government who is providing funds to be utilized for your educational expenses. This gift aid can have requirements. A lot of times the requirements are determined through filling out your financial aid application. Next type of aid, students, if you're thinking about working part-time while going to college, one of the best ways to do that, if you are offered the opportunity for work study, is to work on the campus you're planning to attend. We host a number of positions every year at Columbia Basin College because we want to see our students be successful. They are successful when they have access to resources and they are not having to stress about their schedule and balancing everything. So the ability to work on campus allows you a maximum of 19 hours a week so that your studies are still your priority. And it allows us as an employer the flexibility to work around your school schedule, which is really a benefit. I've seen students, I've heard of students that work for the gas station down the street, and once they get put on the schedule, it's impossible to get their shift changed if they have an academic need. So work study is an amazing opportunity. So this is where we get into loans and students. The takeaway with loans is if somebody gives you something as a loan, eventually they want it back. This is not gift aid. This is not a present wrapped up with a tiny bow. This is something that the government wants back. I know loans can be scary, and I encourage you to look at all options to make your college education affordable so you can avoid them. But it's also a tool that, if used properly, can help you achieve your educational goals and continue to work toward your professional goals. The thing to know about loans for financial aid is that the government does not require you to get a cosigner. They know that most new students don't have credit established, so they don't make you go through a background check. They do monitor how much they give you as a result of that, because they want to make sure that you are investing that in your education and being successful with your education. We also have loans for your parents. So good time to have a conversation with your parents. If you're in this college search process, look at the costs for the schools you're wanting to attend and have that conversation. Hey mom, hey dad, if I stay home, it'll cost this much. This is my plan. How can you help me? If I go away to college, it's going to cost this much, and this is my plan, and how can you help me? Now is also a great time to be filling out those financial aid applications. So you know what help you already have and what help you may need to get from parents and family.
Good question, Melanie.
Oh, yes, please.
Is this yearly cost or quarterly cost?
For the estimated tuition and fees, those were
Yes.
yearly.
Yearly, thank you.
Yes, yes, good question. And thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. I want to make sure that I'm getting those answered. So within the state of Washington, I wanted to break down our aid a little bit further because there are some great programs that our state offers. Washington state grants and programs can include our College Bound. This is an early tuition promise. And if College Bound sounds familiar to you, again, check with your guidance specialist or counselor. You may be a College Bound student. It would have been a paper that would have been sent home with you in 7th or 8th grade. You and your parents would have signed and returned to the school. And it basically said, if you meet the criteria upon graduation from high school, you graduate from a Washington high school, have lived in the state of Washington for 3 years prior to graduation, minimum 2.0 GPA, guess what? State is gonna pay your tuition and fees. So there are some criteria you still have to meet, but that College Bound Award is a tuition promise to help you pay your tuition. So it's an amazing program that even if you're unsure if college is the right fit for you, you can unlock that by filling out your financial aid application. It's great to know that when you're making the decision, it's an affordable decision to go to college.
Melanie,
Washington, yes.
quick question. Are expenses for community college accepted for 529 as expenses?
So the 529 college savings plans, is that what the question is?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, students can use or parents can use college savings plans at community colleges, yes. Okay, another program on here that I just want to highlight is our Passport to Careers program. We have programs that are specific to students that come from diverse backgrounds. And one of the programs, this Passport to Careers, is specifically for students who anytime after the age of 13 have been in a foster care environment. We realize that there are sometimes a lack of resources for college, and the Passport to Careers program provides tuition and fees funding for students from the foster care system to pursue their higher education. So as you can see, there are a lot of great programs. Again, you unlock these programs or you access them by filling out your financial aid application. We're also very fortunate in the state of Washington that in addition to the federal financial aid application, that is for all federal students, all students that are citizens, we also have a Washington application. You would fill out one or the other, but the Washington financial aid application is for our dreamer undocumented students that maybe don't have citizenship or residency, and they are able to complete that application to still access these Washington funds. Okay, dual enrollment. So if you are a senior this year, you may have heard about College in the High School or Running Start program before. There are some great benefits for students linking up with their community college, their local community college, before they even get to college. This is an opportunity for you in your junior and senior year to start taking coursework that counts toward your college education. Some students see this as a jump start toward their programs, helps them get transfer ready so they can maybe work towards some of their prerequisite classes or their general education requirements while finishing high school. The huge benefit that we see for students that are college ready and take advantage of these programs is that it does decrease your college expenses, because there is a portion of your tuition that's paid for by the school district versus you as an individual student. So some great opportunities if you are ready to dive into getting some college courses underway right now.
Melanie, if you've only lived in Washington a year, would you be eligible for cheaper residency tuition?
So if you've lived within the state of Washington for a year, you would qualify for in-state residency. So you would get in-state tuition charges versus out-of-state tuition charges, which can be a substantial savings. What I would suggest, a lot of the residency requirements, make sure if you've got a driver's license, you've switched it over to the state of Washington, you're able to show your home environment, whether it was a rental document or something that shows an electric bill being turned on in your name. If you're the student, like the dependent of a parent that moved to the state of Washington, it will ask questions on your admissions application to determine your residency. And if you lived in the state of Washington for 12 months, it would give you residency for academic purposes. Other questions before I continue on? Okay. Perfect.
No, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so why Washington community colleges? Well, if you are in our beautiful state of Washington, I don't know why you would want to leave. And I'm a Washington transplant, so love it. In Washington, we have some great options for our students. If you're looking to transfer to a four-year college, community colleges save you money on that transfer pathway. Makes it super affordable to take your courses that you would take at a university, but at a more affordable price. I'll talk more about open admission, but essentially you get to create your academic history. I tell students a lot of times high school, we struggle with an aspect of high school. You get a do-over when you get admitted to college, and at community colleges with our open admission mission, we get to give you that do-over. Small class sizes, I can't say enough about the interaction with your peers and with your faculty that help guide your education. You also get to take that time. If you're undecided or you don't know exactly what your future is going to look like, hello, still don't know what that's going to look like entirely. That's okay. We don't want that to be a point of stress. Going to a community college allows you at an affordable price to explore your interests, see what your strengths are, and choose a pathway associated to that. Now, we also have students that are super driven and know exactly what their workforce goals are. They're ready to take some skills and training and jump right into the workforce. And we're there to support those students as well. We have skills training, technical programs that get you job ready, prepare you for your career, sometimes in as quick as 10 weeks to 1 year with some skills training. And our focus again is on programs and careers that are in demand in our community. So we focus on the areas we serve to help you not only get skills and training, but get employment. The last thing we want to do as a community college is train you in an area where there's no demand in our community. Okay, so a couple types of programs that we offer, and I alluded to this a little bit. There are some shorter credential programs. I work with students every year that are like, Miss, college is just not my thing. I've been in school sitting in a classroom forever. I can't think about sitting in a classroom. And I'll say, hey, have you thought about a certificate? Have you thought about a shorter training program that just gives you some hands-on skills and training to get you into the workforce? That's an available option. Short-term certificates are as quick as 18, 19 credits that can be done in a quick time frame. What I also remind students is the longer you're in school, the more skills and training you get, and typically the more competitive your salary will be when you go into the employment market. So certificates can vary in length. There are different types of 2-year degrees or associate degrees. We've heard them called any number of things: AA, AST, which is Associate of Science Transfer, DTA, Direct Transfer Agreement. I get questions all the time. Miss, are my credits going to transfer? Yes, yes. In the state of Washington, our community college system of 34 community and technical colleges has articulated, meaning come to an agreement with our public universities in the state of Washington, that when you complete a DTA, direct transfer agreement, that will transfer as one big block as fulfilling your general education requirements at the college or university you transfer to. Now, if you transfer out of state or some private schools, it doesn't mean that those credits won't transfer. It just means that you might want to ask some questions about how things will transfer. The other transfer issue we see is students will say, I'm going to do my DTA and I'm going to go into psychology when I get to the 4-year university. So we will help you do some foundation courses that meet your graduation requirements that focus on psychology, because that's what you're telling us you want to study. Well, when you transfer to the university, you've taken a business class and you decide that business is your new passion. Now you may not be ready to be degree prepared in business, and you may still have some classes to take. I know that's exactly what happened to me. I switched paths partway through college and needed to take a couple additional classes. The one type of associate's degree that is not transferable is your AAS, Associate of Applied Science. This is called a terminal degree, non-transferable. It means that at the end of that degree or program, you've got a skill set that you've been trained in that doesn't necessarily transfer. I like to give 4 examples. So if you do an Associate of Applied Science in welding technology, that would not transfer to a university because the skills that have been focused on are welding skills, versus in a direct transfer agreement, it's more liberal arts based. You are getting math, reading, arts, humanities, a variety of coursework that then transfers with you. And last but not least, our bachelor's degree programs. I mentioned that many of our community and technical colleges are considered comprehensive colleges. That's because we have a demand in our communities to offer a full 4-year program on our campus. We've proven to be authorized to offer these bachelor's degree programs. We've had to show that there is a demand or a need in our community for the skills, and that we have a program that is accepted and resonates with our community partners. So we have to get community partnership and buy-in in order to offer these programs.
Now, quick
Bachelor of
question for you.
Science. Yes.
Are there pros and cons to taking a running start at a community college versus at the state university?
You know, I would say yes and no. So there's pros and cons to taking running start in general. You do need to be college ready. You do need to be prepared for kind of being self-driven, keeping up with the pace. You also need to make sure that you are going to show up and take care of business. That's a big part of the running start, because once you take running start, it does start your college transcript. So whatever happens, good or bad, lives on your transcript. As far as the difference between taking it at a community college or a state university, I think it depends on a student and their learning style and the environment. I really think it comes down to fit. If you already know that the university where they're offering running start is where you see yourself, it might be a great introductory to take classes there. If you're undecided and don't know where you're going to plan to end up, and your focus is really on having those smaller class sizes and the connections, then a community college can be a great option. In our Tri-Cities area, CBC and a local university both offer running start. And we get that question a lot. Well, should I go here or should I go there? And I really say it's your preference. So you need to make sure you're visiting both colleges in order to answer that.
Fantastic. Another quick question. Do you need a specific 2-year degree at a community college to get a DTA?
So the DTA is your degree. So it is your associate's degree that transfers with you. So no, you do not have to have a major, if you will. However, there are a lot of DTAs with an emphasis in where students can get their transfer degree and work toward a pathway. We have a lot of students that want to go on into a medical profession. Well, while we do not provide medical programs at CBC, you cannot come to a community college and become a doctor. We do have amazing pre-med, pre-professional pathways that allow you to start your biology and your chemistry sequences and continue to work forward toward your goals on that transfer pathway.
Fantastic. You answered part of the next question about the medical science degree programs, but are there certain colleges that would allow more credibility?
You know, this is a great question. And what I would say, check with the schools you're thinking about attending. Most schools, I would say, would not discriminate against you based on where you previously did your coursework. They would more look at how did you do in your coursework? Are you prepared for the program you're going into? And that will be a combination of an application packet that you will probably complete, your transcript, letters of recommendation. So Columbia Basin College, for example, has a new agreement with WSU's pharmacy school, Doctor of Pharmacy School, where they will accept our students with a Bachelor of Applied Science. So there is a precedent set, and there is an acceptance of these bachelor's degrees from a community college going on and being accepted for students to continue their graduate studies. So I don't think that there is a reputation for students not getting into a program based on where they go in their preliminary studies.
Fantastic. If an individual was going into education, is it possible just to take classes at a community colleges, or do you suggest that they go straight to a 4-year university?
No, I think community college is always a great place to start. For the education pathway, it's actually one of the biggest transfer pathways that I think we see, medical and education. Community colleges are a great place to start. Students are able to really explore. Many community colleges, in addition to their transfer pathways for education programs, also have early childhood education pathways. So students can get a full 2-year degree in early childhood education, which prepares students for working with those littles, the preschool, the kindergarten, the daycare settings and facilities. So no, I think you can get a great start to your education at a community college.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. So before, the question had been asked about admission, and what I want to show is kind of the difference. See, when we talk about community colleges, they're open admission or open access. And what that means is that we don't typically ask for all of the additional criteria. We open our doors to encourage our community to use us as a resource for education. So I've had students say to me before, so Miss, you're telling me anybody can come? And I'm like, yes, anybody who wants an education. We don't require GPA. We don't require SAT or ACT test scores. I know for us at Columbia Basin College, it's free to apply for admission. You apply, we admit you and give you an ID number, and then we help you through the rest of that admission process to do some placement testing to see what your strengths are and what your starting point is in math, reading, and writing. Not really a test, it's more of an assessment. But we don't require the additional testing. We don't require letters of recommendation or anything selective. It's very simple. You want to go to college, we want to open our doors and have you be a student and use us as a resource.
Quick question, Molly. Since Washington State offers a high school completion program, how do other states usually accept those credits?
Great question. So there are many high school completion options. Typically a high school completion would be like a GED, unless you do the high school diploma, Washington State high school diploma. Either one show high school completion. They've become pretty equitable in most situations. I think the only situation I've heard of recently is sometimes military for job placement might prefer high school diploma over GED. But those, once you get your high school diploma or GED, that goes with you nationally. If a school for selective admission, so if you look at like our university side of the screen, if you're going out of state and you're applying to a college or university that requires a GPA and wants to look at your transcripts, they may look at your GED or high school diploma and have some questions for you. But typically it just shows, you can check the box that shows, yes, you've completed high school.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay. In addition to serving our students by kind of opening our doors and providing educational resources, we also want to make sure that we're supporting our students. And I think that this is where community colleges really resonate with me. We offer a lot of resources, including tutoring. Right now, with everything being online, we've pivoted and we've got that tutoring online because we want to make sure students aren't struggling being in an online environment with these subject matters. Career services. So, hey, we're going to train you for a job, but we also want to train you how to interview for that job. We also want to train you how to write your resume and cover letter. I put counseling services. This is job counseling, working with your counselor, but this is also personal counseling. We realize that when you come to us as a student, it is not you in this little bubble coming and taking classes. It is you and your home life and whatever is going on, and the dog barking in the background right now. I'm surprised my 5-year-old hasn't come in, you know, whatever is going on in your life. So those counseling services are meant to help support you as a whole human being. Library and research assistance, financial assistance. In addition to everything I talked about with financial aid, campuses have funding available. Childcare, transportation, emergencies, making sure that we're connecting you to additional resources in the community, whether that's financial or support. These are all ways that we want to help you as a student make sure that you're successful, because that bubble, a student in a bubble, doesn't exist.
Quick question for you too. These are they kind of piggyback on each other. They're both concerning the ACT and SAT for community colleges, but they're basically asking, even if I finish at the community college or a 2-year institution, will I still have to take the SAT to go to a 4-year institution?
So typically, no. If you do 2 years at a community college, or even you complete a year, typically you are considered a transfer student at that point. And then the college or university is going to be looking at how you performed at that community college. So what I would say is go do great things at community college so you have a glowing transcript, and then that will help you in being successful with your admission and your next step at the university.
Is out-of-state tuition more expensive at community colleges?
So unfortunately, yes, we are required to charge out-of-state tuition. It is a little more expensive. If you are on the Oregon border, some schools have reciprocity. Our school, for instance, does not participate in WUI, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. That's typically a college or university program to reduce tuition, but yes, short answer, there is out-of-state tuition. Okay, so getting started, if you guys are thinking about applying for admission, most of the community colleges, we call them CTCs, community and technical colleges, are on the statewide admission application. So you can go through that one application, and when you get to the end, it will list all of the community colleges across the state of Washington. You can go down and check a box, click submit, check another box, click submit, and it will have your application be sent to those schools. Do check, some of them have a fee for submitting your admission application. So you do want to make sure that you check that. After you apply, you want to follow up with your college of choice. Now, I'm not saying click submit and then call them. Click submit, and then you should be receiving messaging from them in about 30 days. This time of year, as we get into the spring, it might be a little bit quicker. If you're a senior, right now is kind of your window to start your college search process. So you should be applying for admission. You should be applying for financial aid, watching for scholarships. Once your admission application gets accepted and you start receiving communication from the school of your choice, watch for orientations. That's where we teach you what our college has to share with you. Some schools have a freshman success course. This is intended to just get you plugged into the resources and help you with planning and mapping out your college and future plans. And meet with an advisor. These folks are there to help you navigate everything that you're going to experience. If you're experiencing it for the first time, maybe you're a first-generation student, nobody in your family has gone to college before you, don't shy away from asking those questions, because our goal from a college perspective is really to help you get those answered. So I do want to leave a few minutes for questions. If there's Q&A, if anybody's brave and has something they want to ask.
All right, first question. Where can I find the statewide application to fill out?
So you can go to the state board website, SBCTC, State Board Community and Technical Colleges. And the great thing about that site is that there's not only information there about applying, but you can also look at doing a search. I'm trying to bring it up really quick. sbctc.edu, and it's got all of the colleges. It's got paying for college, becoming a student, that talks about how to enroll, gives you the search engine for looking at the different classes. So whoever asked about cosmetology, please go to that site. I'll type it in the chat, sbctc.edu.
All right,
Make sure that you're checking it out.
Fantastic. Another quick question. Do community colleges help with job shadowing?
Yes. So a lot of times we call that internships. So as part of your program, there's an experiential learning component. Specifically with all of our bachelor's programs, I know that the experiential learning is critical, but for many of the programs, there is some way that we try to tie hands-on education into that environment. Again, it will vary. I'm talking about 34 community colleges across the state. So check with the school that you are thinking about attending because that would be your best source of information.
For the people who have college bound, if you go to college out of state, does the college bound stay with you, or can it be applied for another state?
Oh, I'm so glad you're asking this question. Unfortunately, state funding cannot go with you if you go out of state. So college bound, there are 60 plus colleges and universities in the state of Washington that accept college bound, are approved to accept college bound. So I do encourage you to look in the state of Washington. It's an amazing opportunity to have that free promise toward your tuition. So staying in the state of Washington is how you access that. Yes.
Fantastic. I'm not sure about this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Would it save time, amount of years in education to take community college?
So I think this question is looking at if you do running start, yes, it can be that springboard or jump start to your education that I mentioned earlier because you're dual enrolled in high school and college at the same time. But it also depends on how you perform. So again, your academic transcript is getting started. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for those classes. And then yes, it can help you get ahead, if you will.
All right. Any good recommendations for community college if you want to specialize in education or special education?
I guess it would depend on your geography. I would say start with your local community college to see if that's a program that they offer. Speaking for Columbia Basin College, you know, we're in Southeastern Washington. We do offer an early childhood education program. It's been around for many, many years. So they've got a great reputation in our community. Last year, we started offering a Bachelor of Applied Science and Teacher Education that builds on that program. So students can actually get their teaching credentials, do a 4-year degree, and be prepared to teach in primary through 3rd grade with that credential.
Fantastic.
It looks like there was a quick question in the chat too. You already answered it, but I want to
got
address
it. Go ahead.
Seniors, if you want to apply for community colleges, yes, please apply. I think there's kind of this misconception that the community college cycle is delayed and you wait to the last minute. No, if you know you want to attend community college, apply now because that allows us to get you plugged into our messaging so that we're helping you become comfortable and familiar with the processes that we offer.
Fantastic. Well, Melanie, I'm looking now. I don't think we have any more questions. We had another minute or two. Any last questions? Any last comments before we go?
Just, you know, thank you so much for attending today, participants. I know that the college search process can be a big future goal for you to figure out where you're going to college and what you want to do with your life. So reach out, ask questions, make sure that you're taking advantage of the resources, the local affordable resources called community colleges that are in your backyard.